Hi guys, this is a tutorial for how to cut your own fringe slash bangs depending on wherever you are in the world. I started cutting my hair myself probably since the age of 15. It really isn't that scary. There are a couple of tips and tricks that I will give you along the way, but it really isn't that scary, and to be honest it saves a lot of money as well if you don't want to go to the hairdresser. You also want to learn how to recreate this curled hairstyle using a Remmington curling wand, then please keep watching. Okay, so I love my long hair. I cut my own hair because I do not like the fact that when you go to the hairdresser and you say just take an inch and they literally take a mile. I know it's cliche, but it's no exaggeration, people do. And in the past I've literally come home and just stared crying in the mirror. And I know some people are going to say, oh, for God's sake, it's hair, just get over it, it'll grow. But it's not the point. I mean, for me, ever since I've been young, my hair has been my focal point. People have always complimented me on it because of its length and thickness. So for me, I feel like it gets a lot of attention, so I feel like it has to be right. I can either go very short hair, which would actually suit my face shape because of a round face, and long hair doesn't do anything for it. But I love my long hair and I'm not going to compromise that for anyone or anything. So the next best thing is just to cut some layers into my hair. So I am just going to take 2 squirts of my argan oil and I'm going to rub it all the way into my roots, which I have just done. And then you want to focus on the ends of your hair, especially the roots. I think this is really important. So when I was in the shower, my hair care routine to date, John Frieda, and it was basically a repair one for damaged ends, and just if you'd use too many heat tools on your hair. So that's why I decided to get that. So I used 2 shampoos and then I do 1 conditioner. And then I also did a John Frieda hair mask as well for a couple of minutes. I don't really like, but I haven't ever tried it either, the hair masks that you sleep in with. I just feel like that would be too uncomfortable and greasy for my liking, and it's just too much effort. I want something that's quick and easy. So I'll also be reviewing those as well. I'll do a full hair care routine, but I washed all of it out and everything, and then I would use argan oil always, and then I would use a heat protectant. So ideally your first layer should be nose level, okay? You should always cut your hair when it is slightly wet, maybe even wetter. I probably shouldn't be doing it on damp hair or even dry hair, so I might have to wet it again. So what you want to do is you want to divide your hair. So I've gone from the middle section here all the way down to the closest part of the forehead, wherever you need to find an ending, and you want to get it as smooth as possible. So basically that is a really thick section of hair, and what you always want to do is bring the rest of your hair down and try and imagine the rest of it curl back and what's the gap and all the rest. So just to be safe, I have split part of the section. I'm going to bring it back just so that I can start off with a smaller section. But you want to make sure that it's a clean cut. You want to make sure that it's quite neat and tidy. So I'm going to take my scissors, and you shouldn't really be terrified doing this. I mean, if you are terrified, sort of psych yourself up a little bit first. At the end, again, what's the worst that can happen? Your hair will grow back. It's not going to be the worst. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that part back. And I want to brush it out. And once you have that, I'm going to gently tug my hair as I'm cutting, but just remember it'll spring back up. So hair is a lot longer when it's wet, so just remember that if you think, oh, I'll start cutting up here, which would be ridiculous anyway, but if you did that, your cut would probably be up here. So I'm just going to align this and have it pretty much nose length, and once it is there, as you can see, I am just going to lightly cut. So that is the first piece there. My camera died as I was doing the first cut, which is exactly not what you want to do in stopping. Basically, the one thing to remember, and the one thing I live by when I am cutting my own hair, is that you need to commit. The second you start, what is that in my eye? There we go. The second you start taking your first chop, you have got to follow it through. because if you stop, it's not so difficult here. I know what I'm doing, so I can pretty easily finish up. But the point I'm making is, if you're to do straight across your fringe like I did the first time, all those years ago, if I had stopped halfway through, I wouldn't have got the same alignment and it would just look very uneven. So once you start cutting, you finish cutting, and that is the one bit of advice that I would give to any hair newbies who are starting out. So I'm just going to take that same chunk of hair, and I never ever ever go straight across like that. That is a serious no, because you're just going to be left with this very blocky, chunky piece of hair, and it's too difficult. And I'll show you the technique at the end where you cut up into the hair, but basically you want to make very open and close the scissors very lightly. So you just basically want to open it and close it and go down the hair. So that is what is left of my hair, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to do bigger cuts because I want it more or less the same length, which, as you can see, it's kind of chunky, as in is if you were to go straight across, but I mean at least you have the layered effect here. So I'm just going to go back and ever so slightly neaten it up like so. Now what I want to do is, obviously you can straighten your hair after you do this, and that was the first chunk of hair. Remember I told you guys that I had sectioned off another bit of hair? I'm not going to actually include that in because it's thick enough as it is, and that's the whole point with doing this. It's figuring out if you need to, and if you don't need to add in some more. So I'm just going to keep going until all the little bits are the same length. Then I'm going to take the hair, and you want to literally cut up into it. This thins it out. And there you have the first bit of your hair, like so. They are your first bangs. So don't be freaked out. I know you're probably thinking, oh Jesus, what has she just done, and you'd never be able to do that on your own hair, but in actual fact you actually can. So when you straighten your hair as well, obviously it's going to look a lot different, or when you style it. So my hair isn't even dried properly, so it's pretty crazy and lion-like. So when I straighten that, it won't look like that at all, and I'm actually going to curl my hair so you guys will be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. The part where you cut your hair here, you want that to be the same on this side. So it has to be the same. So as in, a good way of doing this is once you have all the rest of your hair, I'm just going to tie the rest out of the way just to show you guys. So once my hair is tied up, what you can do is you can brush all your hair forward, and it should be an even line going straight across. So that's what you should probably do starting out. Before you take any cuts, you just want to make sure that it is perfect and lined up, and then you can begin to go and separate your hair. So I probably should have mentioned that. It's just that I'm so used to doing my own hair that I don't have to check that, but that is something that I would probably advise at the start. So with this, I'm going to try and match it up. So once I have this, again, I'm going backhand, so it's a lot more difficult when you're doing it on yourself. But you just want to start doing what you did. Again, commit to it. A little bit scary. It's okay though. Keep going down and cutting as you go. I'm definitely going to have to redo this piece. It's quite long. More hair. And just keep going at it. It's okay if you have to go back again, but once you take the initial cut, you have to live up to it. I just tied my hair up to show you guys what it looks like. I really like it. I think it frames my face like I wanted it to. This part here is kind of flicking out, but don't worry, it's only because I haven't straightened it or styled it. It won't look like that when I'm finished, so don't worry. But I think it looks really nice with long hair is what I'm trying to say. So that is it. Don't be discouraged or freaked out, because I tend to do this as well, and I definitely did when I first started doing my hair and cutting it myself, is the aftermath when you have this and you kind of think, oh my god, it always looks like that. When any celebrity goes to get their hair done, it'll look like that as well. It's just about, that's the natural kink in my hair, the way I have very wavy hair. So a lot of you wouldn't know that, or I wouldn't show it a lot, but I'll definitely be doing heat-free hairstyles to enhance those curls for those of you who don't know how to work it that well. So I am going to start styling my hair. I don't actually have a straightener because my sister is on holidays and robbed it with her, so I can either have my hair like a bush like this, or I can have it curled, which is what I'm going to be doing. So this is the curling wand. I started off using this hair tool and I absolutely love it. I just wanted to try and diversify and not have a very thin end on it, because these curls will go into a cone shape rather than just the one length. But on the upside, when you have long hair like I do, on the thicker barrel you get maybe 3 waves as you circulate down your hair, whereas with this you'd probably get about 5 or 6. So this is the next side of the hair finish. So run your fingers through it and just brush. Again, lift up and spray. And then, remember beforehand we were talking about, or I had mentioned to you guys, that the curls can stick together to form one big curl. This happens a lot more when you're doing one curls than when it does when you're doing the larger one. So then you want to release the next section of hair and do the next. This is what the second layer of hair curls looks like. Again, it's the same repetitive thing over and over again. There's no new technique. It's just brushing them out and sort of, in this case, when it's really fluffy, you kind of want them to turn into one big curl instead of it just sort of being wavy and everywhere. So this is the stage we are at now. As you can see, it is very curly actually. So that is what these sort of wand curls produce. Now you want to remove the top layer of hair, and this is where you want to back comb like we did previously in my last tutorial. So you just want to release the hair and then just take it layer at a time really. So as I've said in my previous tutorial, for curling your hair you want to back comb at the beginning, because it's impossible then to break up these strands and sections of hair to then try and get at the roots. You always do it at the start. So I'm just going to work backwards. And because it's so hot, you really only hold it on for maybe 5 seconds. And that's about it, because or else it goes really, really curly. So as you can see, that's already after happening. And I only held it on for a little while. So you want to take down the next section and do the same until you get to the top. And I always start with that's my right side. I always start with my right side of my head, which will be your left, when you're watching this video. I think just because I have the most hair on the left hand side of my head, so it's easier to work with. And then you just want to break it up. So now I've come to the end of my hair. I have to do the front part now, which I again have said previously that for me it is the most challenging part, just because you want it to sort of showcase the most. So as you guys can see, the curl on this side of my head, because it's a lot shorter, it's very springy. So what you can do is just get some and just sort of drag it down. If you had a straightener, obviously you could just straighten it, but I don't, so I have to be careful. And basically I am just going to lightly back comb like I did before. gonna split it into 2 sections and literally leave it on for like 1, 2, boom. So once you tease it and you sort of work it into layers and you kind of flick it over a little bit, you will find the best shape for your curl hairstyle and all the rest. I mean, for me, trying to straighten a curl with a curling iron is kind of difficult, but I mean, if you just sort of gently do it like so, you kind of bring down the curl instead of having it so bouncy. So these I could just sort of lightly go down without scalding your fingers, and then just bring it down to the end here, and then hopefully it'll just form into a nice curl. That has been it for this hair tutorial, how to cut bangs in your own hair and how to curl your hair using a curling wand. I do like these curls, and I mean, I started out using them and it was the only curls that I knew, so I thought they were the best thing to hit the face of the earth. But then I branched out and I started getting different size curling irons, and you saw me with mermaid waves in my hair. I do like them a lot. I just think they can be very in your face, and I mean, I think you need to definitely monitor how long you keep the curling iron on your hair, because that will differentiate the bounciness of the curl, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you guys try it out and decide to cut your own hair, please feel free to ask any questions. If you want any more advice, leave it in the down bar below, or contact me on any of my social sites, which I will also leave in the down bar. And if you do anything to your hair under my guidelines, please send a photograph so I can see what you guys are getting up to, and so that I can repost it myself on my Instagram, because that's what I love more, when I make hairstyles or braids and people recreate it. That's what makes me smile. So I will see you guys very soon in my next tutorial. Bye.